Hi everybody, welcome back to a brand new video. This is a video that a lot of you have been waiting for. I'm finally going to kind of give you guys a breakdown of how I personally studied for my PTCB exam. I've gotten a lot of requests for this video. Just a disclaimer, I obviously can't say too much because when you take your PTCB exam, you are signing that you are not going to discuss what is on the exam, so what any personal questions you have. Okay guys, so first things first, if you see me looking down, it's because I have all my materials here. Any websites that I really highly suggest, I will link them down below. There's honestly one that I really think helped me a lot, and it has literally so much information on there, so that's honestly the only one that I'm really going to suggest because I really enjoyed that one. Other ones you can honestly just look up on Google, like PTCB practice exams. That's what I did, and just like kind of mess around with them. Let me first start with the flashcards. So what I did for my flashcards is I did them by generics because honestly a lot of the time I feel like we're filling generics more than brand. Brands are usually only if like the doctor says brand name only, or like the patient's really strict about like only wanting brand, and a lot of older patients are. Sorry, my dog's upstairs and he's like wants to come down. Here he comes. Okay, so anyways, so I have a bunch of cards here. I personally did not do the top 200 jugs. I did the top 100, and how I studied first is I kind of made these throughout my whole studying thing. I'll kind of go through everything after, but for these, I write on the card. For an example, let me show you. I wrote generic, and then I wrote the name of it, and then I wrote what it is. So it's a beta blocker, metoprolol, and then I would highlight the ending that would kind of remind me of what it is. So I would highlight and remember olols are beta blockers, so I have generic, and then on this side it has the brand, Lepressor, and then it says it's an anti-hypertensive. So I kind of I did those for all of them, and I would write if they were also a controlled substance. So like this one, let's see, it's alprazolam, and usually when it's a zolam, it's a benzo, it says. I don't remember these off the top of my head. But on the back, it says brand, and it's Xanax, and it says anti-anxiety and which control it is. So that's how I did my, what's it called? Flashcards. And also I did, so for me, I did them kind of based off me, of like how I feel and how I am in the pharmacy. So for an example, the front of this card, instead of saying generic, it says the brand name Dexilent, because I know more about Dexilent than I do the generic name. So I feel more Dexilent because there's some medications where you're going to notice you feel more brands because maybe the generic really isn't available, or it's not very common, or whatever the reason is. So for me personally, I did the brand for this on the front of this card, and then on the back I wrote the generic. So that's how I would suggest doing your flashcards. Like I said, I think I have, these are like the top 100s I have here, and I did perfectly fine with that. I know online they suggest the top 200, so if that's what you need to do, then I would totally do that. I know a lot of people also with this, they downloaded an app, I think it was Quizlet, and they had a picture of the drug, because also I noticed I based all my stuff, I get my images off like the middle of the NDC, so sometimes the picture kind of helps me of the medication. So I had an app on my phone where I also did that, and that was Quizlet, where you can add the picture of the medication. So that is what I have for my flashcards, guys. When I got the job as a technician, we got kind of like these little paperworks, and this is like creams, ointment, patches, suppository codes, SIG codes for eardrops, eye drops, inhalers, medication specific. So these kind of just go over that type of stuff. So for example, as you guys can see here, TUD, the code is take as directed. So when you type TUD into the computer, it will come out as take as directed. And then like ES on empty stomach. So any ones that I didn't know off the top of my head, I highlighted those and I really studied those. A lot of other ones I know just from being in the pharmacy. They also gave me the top 100 drugs too, and it goes by brand, generic, and function. So I also like seeing it like this because I would look at the ones that I wasn't very aware of or didn't know off the top of my head. So I have these paperwork. You can honestly probably just print these anywhere online. And then I have some more. These are just some more top 100 stuff. This is from the PTCB website. It just tells you how you can qualify and also how do you get more information, how to prepare for the exam. So it has pharmacytechstudy.com. I can put these links also because this is from the PTCB website. I can put those in the bio for you guys that I had linked below. All right, so for the studying part, I did it over the span of a few weeks of really going every single day and doing it. So I go online and I look at the, what's it called? The blueprint of the PTCB exam. I took the 2019 exam, so the 2020 is gonna be different. It's pretty similar. I'm pretty sure you still need to know your drug names, generics, brands, top 100, top 200, all that stuff. I think they just cut a little bit out because before there was like 9 sections that I was tested on, and I believe there's 4 now. So I think they kind of just condensed them a little bit more. So what I did is I went literally chapter by chapter. I used the Mosby's yellow book. I believe it's yellow. It's on my laptop. It's just a Google document that I use, so I didn't get the actual book. And because that's one, you can go on the PTCB website, by the way, and it'll tell you suggested books that they have. So you can just like go on there and look at the ones they suggest, and that's what I studied off of. So I literally went like chapter by chapter, and I did, so I would write at the top 1.3, and here are drug interactions. So drug interactions are something you're really gonna need to know. For mine specifically, it had questions like, an 88-year-old patient is taking this drug. It wants this many tablets a day. What is wrong here? And it's either like the age for the patient's, like for the medication that they gave us, or the amount of the medication, the amount of the med that the patient is taking for their age. So things like that. So definitely know your interactions. I have the drug disease interactions. So I literally just anything that I did not know, I wrote down. So there's some pretty common like interactions, like drug OTC interactions are when like obviously a prescription drug interacts with a OTC medication. So like aspirin can increase, sorry, excuse me. So aspirin can increase the effect of warfarin, and antacids can decrease the effects of cimetidine. So definitely kind of have a breakdown of those. Obviously you can't remember every single thing in the book, but I would definitely try your best to kind of look at everything. And like the main thing in these tests also is they'll give you a big sentence and you only need like 3 of the lines to figure out the problem. So that's kind of what I did with the book also. I'd look at the whole thing and be like, okay, like what do I really need to know in this? So pharmacy law. So on the link I'm gonna attach down below for you guys, this website literally has everything. Like a lot of it I literally got from the website. So like pharmacy laws I got from that website, some SIGs and interactions I got, like literally everything is kind of on that website. I feel like I did more of that website, and I did look at the book, don't get me wrong, I did go through each chapter and kind of pulled things out that I thought were important, but the website really, like I've heard people literally just passing from looking on that website. So here I have like pharmacy laws, you're gonna need to know HIPAA, FDA stuff. I also have like all of this math stuff here. Bless you. So we have pharmacy math that I went through, and then I would write percents of medications is in weight and weight for solid, the examples, and on the website it gives you examples on it, literally how to step by step follow the problem. Also, something I would know for you guys is I wrote on a little flashcard, I don't have it anymore, but I wrote conversions that like I didn't know off the top of my head, and I literally brought the card with me all the way until when I went in the room, because you can go into the exam room, or you go in, you sign in and everything, and you have to wait in the waiting room sometimes. So I literally would just look at everything until they called my name, and then I had to put it back. And then right when I got there, this is a tip that I liked, but right when I got there, I wrote down the things that I would not remember on top of my head. So I would literally study them. So for example, it's like 1 kilogram is 2.2 pounds. Like, say that's when I couldn't, like, for some reason I just couldn't click it. I would literally just like keep reading it in the waiting room all day, and then I would literally just go in and I wrote what I could remember. So then it's like information off of your brain, so you're not like freaking out when it comes to it. So anything that you need to kind of get out of your brain, I would definitely write it on the whiteboard that they give you. So let me see. So I also, what I really like to do is I would do, like, so as I was telling you guys, I write the chapter, it's chapter 6 here, and I would go through on the book that we have, there is practice questions after each chapter. I would go through the questions, and then the answers are in the book, obviously. So I would write quiz notes, and I would write the number of them, and if I got something wrong, I would literally write out the question and the answers and then the right answer. So just so it can get in my head, obviously I got it wrong, so I need to keep studying that for a reason. So anything I would get wrong, I would literally just write it down. Also, know your categories. So I also did it this way. So sorry, this might be everywhere, but I'm just like, I haven't done this since like February, so I'm just kind of going through and remembering things. But I kind of did them by what chapter. I kind of went through the easiest chapters first. There's like 6 out of 9 chapters that are pretty fast, and you could read through and just take a few notes. There's a few very, very heavy chapters, but I also went through the percentage on the PTCB blueprint for the test. So I kind of looked at what was more important, and I honestly saved the more bigger chunks. So say chapter 1 was 20% of my exam, I would go through chapter 1 and I saved all the higher chunks for the end of my study and closer to the test. I know that might not make much sense, because a lot of people like to study the more important things first so you can like have that down pat. But for me, I just knew that if I studied that first and I studied the other stuff second, I would forget the more important things. So at least when I studied more towards my test and saved the important stuff for last, it's like that was fresh on my brain. So that's what I personally also would suggest for you guys. So here are all my notes. I have so many here. So here's what I did. I went through, as you guys can see here at the top, I wrote the sections that were on the PTC blueprint. So it tells you out of chapter 4, here's what you're going to be tested on in chapter 4. So 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, 4.4, 4.5, 4.6. And then as I went through them, I would cross it out. So this is going to be section 4.4 of the exam. And then I kind of wrote all the look-alike, sound-alike medications here. And then there's 4.5, because 4.5 in the exam was based off high alert medication, so I wrote all the high alert medications. Also remember, if you are in retail pharmacy, that a lot of this has to do with hospital. So if you're a hospital pharmacy, I feel like you might pass this pretty well, but for me, it's like I've never experienced hospital pharmacy, so that was kind of hard for me. So as I said, I would sort them by where they are in the exam, by the section they're in. And then here's like another example. Here's some medication error categories here for you guys. I would write category A, B, C, D, E, F, H, and I, and then I kind of organize them. So category B through D is error, comma, no harm. So category B is error occurred, but patient did not reach patient, error reached patient, but did not cause harm. But I kind of just broke them and generalized them. So if I ever saw B, C, or D, I could kind of know it's error, they didn't get harm, and then I can kind of choose which one it is based off what I think, B, C, or D. So that is another thing that I did. Also, if I am taking notes and it's like a really big note section and I need to start moving forward, I would literally write more on page whatever it is. So I would kind of go through a chapter or two a night, take the notes, and then I'd kind of review it after. So, and then right before the exam, I save about 2 days before the exam, or a day or two, where I literally went through all my notes and I could just review. And then if I was like, I'm not really understanding this, I wrote more on chapter or page this, so then I could literally just go back and review that right away. So here is this, and then also you guys can see I got a 52% on this one because I got a lot of things wrong. So that's when, after that, I literally went back and I wrote what page number, where they explained exactly why that is that. So I would write like page 172, page this if I got it wrong. Here's another example. I would write chapter 4 questions I got wrong, and then I would write FDA is responsible for overseeing MedWatch. So I'd write all the right answers here, because at the end of the day, I don't really need the question really. I just need to know that FDA is responsible for overseeing MedWatch, because probably the answer was, what is the FDA responsible for overseeing? And I got it wrong, so I thought it was something else. So I also did that. Yeah, so I literally kind of just went chapter by chapter. There's so much here, guys. Sorry. So I hope you guys can see this. I went through chapter by chapter. Chapter 6, med order and entry field process. So for that kind of stuff, it was pretty easy for me because I fill in the pharmacy. If you've never been in a pharmacy, it might not be as easy for you guys, so definitely look into that. But it's a really short chapter if I'm remembering correctly. So also, I would have a lot of practice questions. I also paid for online for the PTCB practice exam. It's like $20, I believe, and you get to choose which one you want to do. But I would write the practice questions, and then I would like write a note to myself, look more into TPN, because I'm noticing in the practice questions that I'm getting a lot of stuff about TPN and I'm not really familiar with it. So I would also write like how many puffs is in an inhaler, so 200 puffs, and if the doctor wants 8 puffs daily, then you do the math that way. The math, honestly, is what I save for the end, and that is the hardest thing for me. Like, I honestly didn't think I was gonna pass because of the math, and I ended up passing, but I hear that the math is a bigger proportion. So I wouldn't stress too hard about the math, but I also don't want to say that because I've heard people say their test was all math. I think it kind of goes by how well you know stuff. So when you start like clicking things and submitting it, they kind of go by that. They're like generated by how you're answering things and what you're getting right and wrong. That's what I've heard. So it's really important for you to know who like FDA is. So here I have the PTCB math portion of it, and I wrote the formulas for dilution. There's like one whole chapter based on this stuff. So things you don't know, like the simple stuff, I would really skip by, like how many day supply is this? All of that is kind of very simple day supply stuff. I would really try to focus on like the formulas for dilutions, dosage calculations, so Young's rule, Clark's rule, body surface area. You should definitely know how to calculate all of that stuff because you are going to get some questions of that. Also, I did drug classifications towards the end. So I wrote like Pril. So if it ends in Pril, like lisinopril, it's an ACE inhibitor, and what it does is lowers blood pressure. So I kind of like separated them all. Olol is a adrenic blocker that lowers blood pressure, treats worms. So then I did some top drugs, the brand, the generic, and the indication. So what it means. So obviously amoxicillins, that's an antibiotic. So the indication is that the person has a bacterial infection. The statins lower cholesterol. I liked using the arrows like for lowering because for me it's just like I would remember an arrow better than writing lower. I don't know why, I'm just weird, I guess. Laws and regulations, that's also very important because you need to know those. That's like a big thing. So I saved this one also towards the end with the math because I believe this one was higher up on the percentage for the exam. So I would highlight like DEA form 224, DEA form 222, DEA form 41. Like I would highlight the important stuff, and then I would underline, like, so DEA form 106 for theft of control. So I would underline theft because I would remember in my brain DEA form 106 theft. So obviously it will help me boil down on the answers that are provided for me. DEA form 41 is for destruction of control. So I would remember 41 is for destruction. I have so much of this stuff here, guys. I would also do like FDA's recall conditions here, class 1, 2, and 3. So it goes from worst to least. So class 1 is the worst, class 3 is the least. So I would kind of put my arrows and stuff there just so I know. These two I have all this stuff, guys. Look at all this. So I would write the brand, generic, the category, and the mnemonic. So sometimes they'll talk about a mnemonic, and that is kind of, a mnemonic is something that will make you kind of remember the drug. So, so for me, like AZ, I would remember Ambien, Zolpidem. So that's how I kind of would remember things. Metformin, I did GM, so glucophage and metformin. So I kind of did some mnemonics, and some of them were easy for me to remember. And then I would highlight, so an antihypertensive is to lower blood pressure, and then I would highlight all the antihypertensive medications here. Anti-diabetic, and I would write what it means, and I would highlight it in a color, and then I would highlight whatever ones are anti-diabetic. A diuretic, I would write what it means, same thing, and I'd go through the entire list of stuff. Honestly, I feel like the more you guys are writing things, the more you're gonna remember. I believe that's like actually a thing too. Here's like the drug classifications: ACE inhibitors, A2RBs, benzodiazepines, beta blockers. And then I would highlight like beta blockers, Olol, benzodiazepines, PAM, so alprazolam, lorazepam, all that stuff. Proton pump inhibitors, Prazole, which I would know, it's like for GERD, kind of for like stomach stuff. Acid production, yeah, gastric proton pump. So I would remember Prazole is usually for belly. That's how I did that. So yeah, and then the math stuff. Here's all of my math stuff. Math can get really difficult, but like I said, save that for the way ending. My math notes, I'll show you guys, they're literally all over the place. Solution, math, mixture, because when I do math messy, for some reason it helps my brain, but I would kind of like highlight what I needed to know and like how to solve the problem. On these websites, there's a lot of math help. It'll show you literally how to walk through each step. So I save the math for last. I would highlight allegations, dilutions, concentration dilutions. Yeah, I did notice that the book though, it gives you a lot of information that you honestly, my dog, that you honestly don't really need, to be completely honest. Like they give you too much information in my opinion. But yeah, guys, here's all the stuff. I'm just making sure there's no more. I wrote some essential conversions here, if you guys can read that. Can you guys see that? So kind of like, as I did math problems, I kind of started to notice a pattern in the things that I really needed to know the most. So like 30 ml equals 1 ounce equals 30 grams, because you're definitely going to need to do conversions. So obviously there's a huge conversion list, but there's some things like how to do Celsius to Fahrenheit, and like 1 kilogram, I remembered it was 2.2 pounds, things like that that you can remember. 1 kilogram is 1 gram, things like that I didn't write down as an essential. The essential ones were the ones that I noticed I was having a hard time with, and the ones that I noticed were more frequent that I didn't know too well. I would say to you guys, if you are studying for your exam, don't freak yourself out too much, because I did, and I literally was just so focused on like, I'm not gonna pass this, that I noticed I was taking time away from studying. So I was like, what am I doing? Like, I'm gonna not pass this. So definitely don't have that attitude. It was hard for me at first because I had so much pressure on me about it, but I did pass it. And I would say, like I said before, go through the smaller chapters and kind of grab the things that you notice are more important. If you want to go through online sites that I'm going to attach below too, kind of, that's what I did. I went through those sites first, and then I also saved a little bit of time, obviously, for the book to just go over things that weren't necessarily on the website, or just to like confirm that what you got from the website was correct. But yeah, so I would definitely suggest going through those little chapters first, and then I would suggest going through the things that you don't really know well, or the things that are higher up on the percentage rate of the exam, and save those kind of for last. And then always save a day or two before to literally go through all of your study materials, because then you're just kind of refreshing at that point. I wouldn't study new information, because you're honestly just, you're gonna forget it. You're gonna be so like anxious and nervous about the test. There's gonna be so much on your mind. So I would definitely save the last 2 days for literally just reviewing. No more new information. Okay guys, my camera died, so clearly it's been a very long video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys have any specific questions, I always suggest you guys leave specific questions down below, so then I can message you back with an answer, or I can make a whole video. If a lot of you do a lot of specific questions, I can go kind of deeper into each question. So if there's any specific questions you guys have, don't forget to leave those down in the comments below, so I can go through them for you guys and help you guys out before your test. Good luck on all of your exams, and like I said, if you guys have any questions, feel free to message me or comment down below, and I will see you in the next video.